This video is brought to you by Game Maker. Stick around till the end to learn more. I hate this gaming storefront. I hate it with a deep, deep passion. Now, which storefront, you're asking? It's this one. Well, you can't see it, but I'm moving my arms in a kind of circle to imply that it's every single storefront that I hate. Now, because of my job and because I just like being plugged into what's going on at any given moment, I feel like I'm bumming around these stores on a daily basis like a weird little freak, peeking into windows to see if anything neat might be going on. And after having spent a bunch of time over the past few weeks/months/years on the PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, and Steam storefronts, I've come to the conclusion that they are all very terrible in their own very unique ways, like flakes of ash raining down after a volcanic eruption. And I cannot fathom why we don't have a better option for browsing and buying games digitally in the year 2025. I mean, I guess I know exactly why, but the reason gets me mad, and we'll touch on that later. But for now, let's start with Steam, since it's the freshest on my mind. A few weeks back was Steam Next Fest, which rules. I love being able to load up my Steam Deck with dozens and dozens of demos, finding those few diamonds in the rough that I'll know to keep a sharp eye on down the road. And yeah, they should probably scale back to holding it only biannually, or whatever the hell word means twice a year, just to keep some of the magic and mystique alive. But I still think it's the closest that a lot of folks can come to feeling what it's like to attend a trade show like E3 or Tokyo Game Show and spend the week mainlining demos directly into your brain. It's cool stuff. But what isn't cool stuff is just how much of a pain in the ass it is to navigate the Steam store, even in the section that's specifically designated for Steam Next Fest demos. It's just an absolute mess of various sliders and categories, none of which seem to really know my gaming preferences whatsoever. Any of these stores that feature a For You or Recommended tab feel like they've just learned of my existence moments ago and are desperately cobbling together a list of random games in hopes that one might stick. If these companies are going to be stealing my data on the regular, the very least they could do is put it to use in offering me some solid suggestions. It's also a bummer that as the number of games participating in Next Fest grows, it becomes harder and harder for anything other than the upper 1% to rise to the top. It feels like the top charts are locked at the beginning of the week and feature very little movement throughout the event. And given that those games tend to land in ultra-popular genres that I'm not particularly the audience for, it means more digging through the clunky UI for me. Now, one thing I will give Steam credit for is prominently highlighting a section that features all of the games on my wishlist that currently have Next Fest demos. That's a great way to easily see a bunch of things that piqued my interest at some point in the past, which is a good starting point for my demo deep dive. However, needing to go into each one individually and download them is a pain, especially on Steam Deck, which is where I prefer to play a lot of these smaller PC games. But Valve isn't the only target of my storefront ire, because for the love of God, have you ever tried gazing into the abyss of the Nintendo eShop only for it to gaze back? We often joke about how Nintendo is a generation ahead when it comes to creativity and a generation behind when it comes to simple online infrastructure, but honestly, that last one isn't necessarily true, because it feels like the eShop is still living back in the late 2000s, except with none of the charming aesthetics of the Wii. The eShop just feels like a Thunderdome that allows any and all manner of asset flip slop to saddle up to the newly released list. If you try to scroll through what's new, you're just met with a slew of awful mobile ports, clear copyright infringement, borderline hentai, and Glover. I mean, just look at this shit. Gunzo's Skateboard Run, Call of Warzone, Hentai Waifu 5. And best of all, the UI chugs whenever you try to change categories or scroll through the slop a bit too fast for Nintendo's liking. Seriously, if the Switch 2 doesn't bring this online infrastructure into at least 2013 standards, we're gonna have some major problems. And by major problems, I mean that I will still buy it day one and continue to just kinda grumble about it because I am a sucker and I like it when Mario does big jumps. But it's not like things are much greener over on the other side of the fence with Xbox and PlayStation. Both of them still suffer from the Steam problem of botching any and all recommendations despite having my clear history of gaming saved from over the past 20 years or so. The various titles and categories of the stores have no aesthetic flow to them, and both are inundated with ads and offers for things that I clearly have no interest in, or worse, games that I already own. This is the first bar that pops up on the Xbox store right now, and literally 4 of the 5 of them are installed on my console at this very moment. Like, what are we doing here? It's like when you go see a movie in theaters and before it starts there's a commercial for the theater chain trying to get you to go see movies in this theater, but I'm already in this theater, so like, why are you advertising this to me? Just go play this at a Panera Bread or during the Super Bowl or something, just not here. I often think about what it would be like if your local grocery store was arranged as poorly as these digital storefronts. Like, no order or structure, just a rat's nest of chaos and ads that continually push back at you on every single aisle. You probably wouldn't shop there, yeah? And that's the thing. None of these companies have any reason to try and fix things because there's really no competition for any of them within their own ecosystem. Each first-party console manufacturer is the king and queen of their own castle, so no worries from them there. And as much as I complain about Steam, there's no realistic alternative on PC, though I do continually respect what GOG is doing when it comes to game preservation and allowing you to actually own the things you buy, even if they're digital. Plus, they're out here acknowledging Breath of Fire 4 and Digimon World, which gets a hell yeah from me. At the end of the day, all of these botched user experiences make me kind of miss the era when physical game aisles and stores were the main place we would browse. It felt like some effort was put into the design and flow of a Toys R Us, a Best Buy, a Funkoland, or an electronics boutique. And fun fact, this footage from 1990 is about as old now as the Zapruder film would have been back then, so enjoy that existential dread. Obviously, things are 1,000 times more convenient now, especially as someone who's primarily transitioned over to buying new games digitally. I just wish there was some lesson to take away from all of this, some catharsis in knowing that these digital stores are at least trying to improve. But it really feels like they aren't, so our only options are to unplug or continue to suffer for the love of the art. Besides, how else am I going to spend time with all 5 of my hentai waifus?
This video is brought to you by GameMaker. If you've ever wanted to get into game development, GameMaker does this really crazy thing where it's free. Just start making and only pay when you want to release your game to the world commercially.
It's fast, it's user-friendly, and there's easy-to-follow tutorials, plus a dedicated community to help answer even my questions. How make man jump? GameMaker is a 2D game engine that's helped bring some of yours and my favorite recent experiences to life, like UFO 50, Chicory, Anton Blast, and of course, Yahtzee's own Starstruck Vagabond.
Ooh, are we talking about GameMaker? I love that program, it's so easy to use. As well as Starstruck Vagabond, I also used it to make all 12 projects in my 12 games in 12 months Dev Diary challenge. And I couldn't believe how much sex I got out of that. None. I got none at all. Which I couldn't believe.
So what are you waiting for? Head on over to the GameMaker link in the description and start cracking away today because we want to play your game.
Yeah, looking through this list, I'm seeing one of you made Armpit Fart Tycoon, and I've got several questions for you.